Peace. I love you guys. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to be discussing Astanga yoga, which is the 8 limbs of yoga. But before we do all that, my name is Jeremiah. You're tuning into Secrets of the Sacred Serpent, where we discuss all things spirituality and the occult. Like I said, today we're going to be discussing Astanga yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. And before we do that, I'm just going to discuss a couple more things. So yoga is over 5,000 years old for real. It was found in northern India in the Indus Sarasvati civilization, and yoga actually means to join, to yoke, or to unite. This like classification system and stuff comes from Patanjali's classifications in the Yoga Sutras, which are like the 94 or 195 aphorisms or words of wisdom. And yeah, we're going to go over each of these categories and all the subcategories within it. So the first of the 8 limbs of yoga is yama. And yama means abstinences. So these are things that you don't do. Almost similar to like the Ten Commandment kind of thing. This is what you don't do. So the first one is ahimsa, which is non-violence and not harming of any living thing. So this is pretty self-explanatory, just not harming people or things, non-violence, and that even attributes to emotional and mental abuse and harm and violence. Literally just no violence. Then you have satya, which means truthfulness, not lying, no falsehoods. That's the second of the yamas. Then you have asteya, which means not stealing, so not taking anybody else's property. Then you have brahmacharya, and this is considered like chastity, marital fidelity, sexual restraint. Semen retention can also fall into this category. So when you are practicing tantric sex, you're not having ejaculatory orgasms, you're redirecting the energy and having the energetic full body orgasms. So yeah, brahmacharya is a observation of the sacred nature of sexuality and honoring that. Then there's apagraha, which is non-avarice or non-possessiveness. So this also would kind of connect with non-attachment. So the possessiveness, feeling like you own something and or you want to hold on to something and having attachment. That this is saying keeping non-attachment, non-possessiveness. So that's the fifth of the yamas. So the yamas are the don'ts. And the second limb of yoga is actually going to be the do's. These are things that observances. These are the virtuous habits that you're going to have within your life. And there's 5 in this one also. If you see me looking down, I've got a few notes that I've taken. And these are the niyamas. The first one is Shatwa, which is purity, clearness of mind, body, and speech. So this is having pure thoughts, retraining your mind to have positive thoughts and having the clearness of the mind, body, and the way that you speak. So being very observant of what you're actually saying and thinking. The second of the niyamas is santasha. This is contentment, acceptance of others, acceptance of one's circumstances as they are in order to get past or change them, optimism for the self. So this is literally where you have come content with life, and you don't feel like you have to be reaching or racing after something, or um, like they say in the state of where you're always, most people are always in a state of running from pain and running towards pleasure. This here is saying just to be content, that the state of being just content with others, circumstances that you've had in your life, and everything, pretty much, and having a optimistic outlook of self and having self-love. Then you have tapas, which is persistence, perseverance, austerity, asceticism, and self-discipline. So this is where you actually are incorporating all your practices. You have a self-discipline within your spiritual practices in your daily life. So you have routines and rituals that you perform at certain times of every single day. So when this is like in what I was telling y'all, in the morning at first 15 minutes when you wake and the last 15 minutes before you go to bed, you're getting into an altered state of consciousness. You know this whenever you start to get drowsy and you start to feel your brain waves change into like an alpha state. Right here during those times, you need to be tapping into your subconscious. You need to be reprogramming what you are manifesting within your life. So you want to feel the emotion and visualize something that represents that thing and feel excited as if you already have it. But this is having the self-discipline that every day you get up and meditate. Every day you get up and do your studies and stuff, because you're so attached to going to work and making money and living in the external world. Um, Put the same bit of effort that you put into going and doing all these other things into your practices. And then we have Svadhyaya, which is the study of the Vedas, study of the self, self-reflection, introspection of self's thoughts, speech, and actions. So this is the state of actually self-realization, understanding the self, doing shadow work, going within, um, reflecting on all the things that you do, the way you talk, the way you act, the way you think, understanding why you do that, going back and doing the shadow work and understanding what aspects in life led you up to where you are right now. So yeah, that's Svadhyaya. Yeah, sorry. Oh, this is a good one. This is a long one. Ishvara Pranidhana. So this is the contemplation of Ishvara, which is like considered to be like the God or supreme being, source, Brahman, um, Parusha, the true self, the unchanging reality. So this is a contemplation on who you truly are. The source. You are a microcosm of that. So this is contemplation and thinking about how your connection is with source. So that's the 5 niyamas. So these are the 5 things that you need to be incorporating into your daily life. Virtuous habits, basically. All right. Now this right here, the third arm or limb of yoga, is probably the one that everybody in the West is most common with, because you see all these people in like Hollywood and then all these things, like pretty much the main part that they advertise of yoga is basically just the asanas, which are the positions, the poses that you get into. So you see them all doing, all these different stretches and poses, and then you see also with the sitting postures, you see when people meditate, they sit in lotus or half lotus or whatever. So yeah, the third limb is the postures, the poses. I'm going to read off to you guys the 12 seated meditation postures, and you guys can go and look them up and see what they actually look like and stuff. So you have Padmasana, which is lotus. Almost everybody knows this one. Virasana, which is hero. Bhadrasana, which is glorious. Svastikasana, which is lucky mark. Dandasana, which is staff. Soparayasana, which is supported. Paryankasana, this is bedstead. Kurancha. Nishadasana, which is seated heroine. Hastanishadasana, seated elephant. Ushtranishdasana, seated camel. Samasan Thyansana, evenly balanced. And Sthira Sukhanasana, this is any motionless posture that you find comfortable, basically. So the 12th is any seated, relaxed posture that you feel comfortable with. And some of these are like the lotus, where you're actually sitting with legs crossed. Some of them where your knees are forward and you're just kind of sitting on your feet. Some of them are lying. There's just or not lying, the bedstead. I think that's like maybe probably leaning back. And Shiva states the 4 most important sanas are Siddhasana, which is accomplished, Padmasana, which is lotus, Simhasana, which is lion, and Bhadrasana, which is glorious. That's the 4 most important that Shiva had said within the Hindu tradition. But yeah, that's the one that most people know about, and most people go to these little gyms and places to have yoga classes, and they're basically taught mostly asanas, and that's it. Now, some of them will actually incorporate the 4th arm or limb of yoga, which is pranayama. So, pranayama is the control of breath. In Sanskrit, prana is breath, and ayama is restraint. So it basically means breath restraint. So you're actually controlling the breath and doing different patterns and different breathing techniques, basically, is what pranayama is. Pranayama is used a lot within like Kundalini yoga to and a japa to move the prana and energy throughout your within a japa you're moving it through your frontal channel and then through your sushumna on your back with all your chakras. But prana is also, a lot of people think it's just breath, but prana is much deeper than that. Prana is the energy that keeps your body warm, coming from the electromagnetic field that comes out of your heart. Prana is the breeze whenever it hits you. Prana is the rays that come off the sun and that warmth that you feel off of it. Prana is the life force energy that kind of runs through everything. In other traditions, they would call it like chi, or the life force energy. In Kabbalah, it would be like the Shekhinah, the feminine energy, the projection, the creative energy of the source. But practice of consciously regulating the breath, inhaling, the full pause, exhalation, and the empty pause. So that's the on the video I made where I was talking about the 4-4, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. That's what it's talking about here. Something where there's those 4 different, the 2 pauses and the 2 breathing. This is done in several ways, such as by inhaling and then suspending the exhalation for a period, exhaling and then suspending the inhalation for a period, by slowing the inhale and exhale, or by consciously changing the timing and length of the breath, deep or shortening of the breath. So that is the 4th arm of yoga, which is pranayama. This is the control of the breath. And also, whenever you're connecting with the breath and you're controlling the breath, you will begin to feel the prana, the energy, actually moving. And that's why when I tell you guys about where your attention goes, energy flows. Whenever you're doing these practices like a japa japa or the chakra shuddhi exercise, you're actually, when you're moving the breath and you're moving the energy through these channels like the frontal passage or your sushumna, the that energy that you feel after you've been just focusing on the breath for a little bit, that energy that moves is the prana. It's the chi energy. I'm going to do another video after this live stream about my format for Reiki and the things that I do. And I do like Qigong outside while I'm grounding barefoot, which is another way to manipulate and move the energy, the Qi within your body. But yeah, that's the fourth limb, pranayama. It's the breath, control of the breath. Then we got the fifth limb of yoga. This is pratyahara. In Sanskrit, pratya means against or contra, and ahara means to bring near or to fetch. This is like withdrawal. This is the withdrawing of your consciousness, and it's the drawing within of one's awareness. Is the process of retracting the sensory experience from external objects, a set step of self-extraction and abstraction. Moving from the outside to in, from outer sphere of the body to the inner sphere of the spirit, not consciously closing one's eyes to the sensory world, but in closing one's mind processes to the sensory world. So pratyahara is the stage of meditation where you go within and you're connecting with your true self, that true inner being, your spirit, and it's withdrawing from sensory overload. So like, we have our five senses. We're always feeling, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, something. So pratyahara would be the practice within meditation wherever you are actually withdrawing. You're taking your awareness and your consciousness away from focusing on those senses. So this is moving inward to that inner still space. And that is the fifth limb of yoga. And then we're going to move into the sixth, which is dharana. And I've been speaking a lot about dharana to you guys with a bunch of practices that come out of Dharana Darshan from Swami Niranjanananda Saraswati. But within this stage, though, dharana, what dharana is concentration. I want to read the kind of definition. Concentration, introspective focus, and one-pointedness of mind. Root of the Sanskrit word is dhr, meaning to hold, maintain, keep. Holding one's mind onto a particular inner state, subject, or topic of one's mind. The mind is fixed on a mantra, one's breath, navel, tip of tongue, or any place, or any object one wants to observe, or a concept or idea in one's mind. Fixing the mind means one pointed focus without drifting of mind, and without jumping from one topic to another. So in dharana, I have told you guys how we use at least these three different techniques to allow ourselves to break through the barrier of Laya. I just made a video about that a little bit earlier, but the barrier of Laya is like a filter, is a screen that is deeply connected to us that keeps us from delving into the deep recesses of our subconscious. So what will happen is a lot of time when people meditate, they'll actually not have a point of focus. They're just trying to like clear their mind or shut off their thoughts and stuff like that. So they end up falling asleep, or they end up sitting there getting caught up all in their thoughts. So they start to mess with those thoughts and just manipulate them, and their mind just goes here and there and all over the place. The reason that you need a point of focus during meditation is so that you can break through that barrier, because once you actually break through that barrier, you can get into a true meditative state, or which is what the next one is, dhyana. They're both directly connected, but the three main things that we're going to use in order to break through that barrier is psychic sound, like using an internal mantra or sound, psychic vision or image, something that you visualize, like within your chitta kasha, or like right behind, past your closed eyes or on the brow. But you visualize an image, or psychic breath, where you're actually focusing on the breath and the prana, the energy that actually moves within the breath. So during dharana, you're going to be using one of these practices. So you're either going to be focusing on a visualization, like your image, like I was telling you guys about, where you have a certain image that just holds within your mind. You can pick the image, though, if you haven't already had your image that comes up to you a lot naturally whenever you're in meditation. If you haven't done it yet, eventually your image will come to you. But you can use anything. Man, I'm gonna probably have to read just that big list of everything that Swami Saraswati said. That was man, he listed like everything. You could visualize anything, but using that to hold your awareness, one pointed awareness, where that is solely where all your focus is on, is either that mantra that you use, the visualization that you hold, or visualizing the different points and areas throughout the body. So when you're doing chakra shuddhis and you're focusing on the Kshetram trigger points in the front and the frontal passage, or up your Sushumna with all your chakras, or if you're doing a japa where you're actually focusing on all three of those, you're visualizing the tubes within your frontal passage and your Sushumna, and you're using the mantra Soham and Hamso to move the energy, and you're focusing on the psychic breath, the prana that actually moves. But yeah, within dharana, it's just the single pointed focus, where you literally hold focus on whatever you're visualizing or whatever mantra you're doing completely. You let that be your complete focus until you get into altered state of consciousness. You start to get into a trance, and you move into an alpha wave, or focusing on the breath, psychic breath. Okay, the seventh limb of dharana is dhyana, which is true meditation. And most people don't even ever make it to this when they meditate, because they don't observe any of those practices I was just telling you about. So this is contemplation or reflection, and also profound abstract meditation on whatever dharana has focused on. So whenever you're practicing dharana, whatever that thing that you're focusing on, dhyana is a profound abstract meditation on whatever you've been focusing on. If during dharana one focused on a personal deity, dhyana is its contemplation. If concentration was on one object, dhyana is non-judgmental, non-presumptuous observation of that object. If the focus was on a concept or idea, dhyana is a contemplation of that concept or idea in all its aspects, forms, and consequences. Dhyana is uninterrupted train of thought, current of cognition, flow of awareness. Dhyana is integrally related to dharana. One leads to another. Dharana is a state of mind. Dhyana, the process of mind. Dhyana is distinct from dharana in that the meditator becomes actively engaged with its focus, the mind process where the mind is fixed on something, and then there is a course of uniform modification of knowledge. Adi Shankari distinguishes dhyana from dharana by explaining that dhyana, as the yogic state where there is only the stream of continuous thought about the object, uninterrupted by other thoughts of different kinds for the same object. So, Dharana is focused on one object, but aware of its many aspects, ideas about the same object. So, example, Dharana on the morning sun may be aware of its brilliance, its color, or its orbit. I'm going to redo that. My alarm just went off. Dharana on the morning sun may be aware of its brilliance, color, and orbit. In dhyana, the yogin will contemplate on the sun's orbit alone without being interrupted by its color, brilliance, or other related ideas. So, at this stage, dhyana, where you're in true meditation, this is the contemplation of the different aspects of what you're focusing on in dharana. So when you're having that single pointed focus in dharana, that eventually moves into dhyana, where you will have this state of where your concentration is completely focused, and that image, whatever you're focused on, even if it has many different things about it, your focus will only be on that one aspect about it. So like it said with the sun, in dhyana, even though the sun is brilliant and bright and it has warmth and all these things, your focus will only be on, say, the orbit, or it may only be on the brilliance, or it may only be on the color, but it's not going to be on all the different aspects of it. In dharana, you will have, times where your mind moves into the different things about it. And then you have to keep pulling your focus back to that single point. But in dhyana, you'll be in a state, it's like a flow state. This is actually like true meditation. So you'll be in like a flow state where you're just consumed by that aspect of your thing. So like one of the things that I had was I was visualizing a heart, and I moved into a state of dhyana. And at first, before I got into dhyana, the heart was just very vague visualization, kind of in my mind's eye. And I remember during dharana, the heart would kind of change a couple of times, and it went from the little cartoon colored red heart that you see all over the place in emojis and stuff like that, the actual cartoon heart, and then it would kind of move into a real heart. So I was seeing a real heart, it changing into a real human heart with like blood and stuff on it, but it was still a vague thing. Yeah, it was very like, shadowy within your mind's eye. It was just that almost see-through image of the visualization. And as it progressed, it went back from the bloody heart into the little cartoon heart. And at this point within the meditation, I started to be consumed by the redness of it, because it had a lot of red within it. And this is where I actually moved into the state of dhyana. And when this happened, this thing came alive to me. It was so beautiful. So it actually, instead of being that vague little see-through thing that was kind of see-through and within that black abyss of your mind, it actually made itself aware to me. Basically, it came alive, and this thing looked like a 3D sticker within my mind's eye. It was absolutely so vivid that it was as if I was sitting here looking at it in high definition on my phone, or like I was looking at it in real life right here in my hand, but it was just superimposed upon the abyss of the mind within the Chitakasha, like right here in this area. And when that happened, I became consumed with it, and it was the color that got me, because it was just like, it was so bright and vivid, and it just blew my mind how alive it was. It was like, I don't know, it was so weird. It was just like I was a part of it, and I was making it happen within my mind. So I was just amazed and just completely consumed by the color red as it was. And then after a while, I started to fall out of the dhyana state, and it started to kind of bounce back and forth, and it would kind of show up in different areas. It wasn't right in the center of my vision like it had been before. And it was because I was just so amazed by it, what was happening, that it started to kind of fade, and I popped out of the state of dhyana, the true meditative state, and I popped back into dharana, and I was trying to hold the focus, and it was still kind of making itself aware. It was popping into full vision a couple of different times in different areas within my visual spectrum. And after that, I was just like, oh wow, that's super beautiful. But that was just one time I reached a state of dhyana, for an example, to kind of let you guys know how dharana actually moves into dhyana. And all of these last three, all of them kind of move into each other. So you have, well, actually, the last four, honestly, you have pratyahara, where you withdraw from the senses, and then let's see, then you have dharana, where you're having your single pointed focus on your visualization, your mantra, psychic breath, doing something like a japa japa or something. And then dharana moves into dhyana, that's the true meditative state. And then dharana moves into the eighth limb of yoga, which is called samadhi. And you know, a lot of people talk about samadhi, you know, that like reaching enlightenment and becoming one with the all and all this stuff. I would actually consider, well, I'll actually tell you, I wrote some in to add it in on this. So, yeah, samadhi, the eighth limb of yoga, literally means putting together, joining, combining with, union, harmonious whole, or trance. These are literally the definitions of samadhi. Samadhi is oneness with the subject of meditation. There is no distinction between the actor of the meditation, the act of meditation, and the subject of meditation. Samadhi is a spiritual state when one's mind is so absorbed in whatever it is contemplating on that the mind loses the sense of its own identity. So this is why I put ego death. This is a point where you, the false self, the ego, completely disappears, and it's your awareness becomes just universal awareness. You become one with whatever that object was through dhyana, or dharana and dhyana. This is when you become consumed and become one with it. So you are it. Union with the divine. So yeah, samadhi is a spiritual state when one's mind is so absorbed in whatever it is contemplating on that the mind loses the sense of its own identity. Ego death. The thinker of the thought processes and the thoughts fuse with the subject of thoughts. There is only oneness. So this is, you know, the eighth limb of yoga. This is the last little stage that you reach when you follow these eight limbs. And you need to follow them in order, you know, and make sure that you have these things that you're not doing in your life, the yamas. You have the niyamas, the things that you're observing, doing your self-deification, apotheosis, self-mastery. This is where you're adding these things to your life, virtuous habits. Then you have the third limb, which is the asanas, doing the poses. Actually, when you're doing all your meditation practices, all your different seating postures. And if you're actually practicing yoga, there are also the standing and stretching postures. But then number 4, pranayama, the control of breath. And also with the control of breath, you begin to control the energy within your body, the prana, that life force energy that moves through all your different nadis and meridians throughout the body. Then you have pratyahara, the 5th, which is withdrawal of the senses, going within meditation, shutting off of the sensory overload of the mind. Then you have the 6th, dharana, which this is a single pointed focus, concentration, and not allowing the mind to be wandering onto a bunch of different things. That single pointed focus is going to be on a psychic sound, psychic vision, or psychic breath. So this is focusing on internal mantras, repeating internal mantras, having a visualization, the image of contemplation, which could be anything. Like goodness, in Dharana Darshan, there's a chapter that he literally reads like 1,000 different things. It could be like anything from symbols to deities to people you know to just any image that you could visualize. Then you have or dharana, that single pointed focus, moves into dhyana, which is where you are contemplating on that thing and you're consumed within that one line of thought. And that one ends up moving into samadhi, the eighth limb, where you become one with that object. You become one with the universe. You become one with everything. The universal consciousness, moving from your personal, egoic, false consciousness of separation and moving into the divine consciousness with source, basically. But those are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Definitely, if you are going to be walking a spiritual path of self-mastery, we need to all start to come to understand that, like most of all the Western esoteric tradition, when it comes to magic and stuff like that, came from the East, within India and just far east within the Eastern traditions of Hinduism and stuff. But yeah, I love you guys. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. Wow, this is a 37-minute video. I didn't think it was going to be all that long. But I'm going to come back and do a couple more live streams today. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day. If you guys haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Like the video if you like it. If you guys have any questions or any comments that you want to leave, please leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll definitely get back to you as soon as I can. And right now I can get back pretty quickly, but I hope everyone has a wonderful day today. Love you guys. Peace.